60, The Answer. If we want to preserve our constitutional republic, we need an informed and educated citizenry. And that's what this show is all about. Find out what's really happening. It's time to stop the lies and learn the truth. This is The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Well, welcome back. It's Sunday night at AM 560's studios here. I'm Jeannie Ives. I'm the host of The Real Story, and thank you for spending some time with me tonight to listen in. As you know, this show does largely focus on local and state politics in the state of Illinois. We often venture out into the federal area when it also has an overlap with Illinois. Tonight, we've got a lot of local stuff going on that we're going to be discussing, and stuff that is really important. So the phone number here, if you want to weigh in, is 312-642-5600. I have some great guests coming up. I have Dr. Rich Jorgensen. We're going to talk about what's happening with overdose deaths in DuPage County. Following him up with the Shelby County State's Attorney, Rob Hanlon. He's actually in studio with me. He's in studio right now. He's just going to listen in on the first half hour. But he's, I think, maybe got a little different perspective about what's happening with drugs in central Illinois. So you've got a little bit of dichotomy going there. And so we're going to talk about them. In the 8 o'clock hour, you are not going to miss it, because we are going to go through exactly the shenanigans that have happened in Springfield. And as you know, the Democrats effectively blocked our Parents Matter coalition that was trying to put an advisory citizen referendum question on about parental rights. Well, what did they do? Oh, they filed 3 advisory questions to crowd us out of the ballot. And they did that in less than 48 hours. That's right. They gutted and replaced a bill. And we're going to go into that and a whole lot more, like all the scams going on in Springfield and the $827 million that Governor Pritzker just gave Rivian in terms of tax credits and subsidies. And you know what it looks like to me? It looks like they're going to get almost $200 million of that up front. That's what it looks like to me, and that would be a scam, another scam. But we're going to talk about all that in the 8 o'clock hour. And then, of course, we'll finish up with the watchdogs, which are always have plenty of stories to tell about what's happening in the state of Illinois. But first of all, I'm just going to get started here and tell you a little bit about what I was doing. I was in South Dakota this weekend. It was a weekend where all of my siblings and I got together. We kind of went through my mother's items. You know, we played pick. I imagine a lot of families do that. There's special items to special people, and so we played pick. And you know what was the biggest, the one of the most contentious items? My dad's 1950 gumball machine. Everybody won the gumball machine. It's just one of those iconic things that all the grandchildren remember, putting a penny in for my father and getting that gumball out of it. Well, anyway, my littlest brother got it. So it was kind of an interesting weekend. And you probably know this, but I grew up in Vermillion, South Dakota. And I went out to dinner Friday night with my siblings. And there was 5 of the 6 of us were there. And it was USD's graduation weekend, so we went to a small town that's just outside of Vermillion to a local place that is, pretty good and people like it. So we walk in and we are about to take a table when we found out that was reserved. So we had a table nearby and we sit down and before you know it, I'm getting a lot of stares from a couple that are sitting across the way, and they have a direct line of sight to me. Well, it was M.K. Pritzker's parents who live in Vermillion, South Dakota. They happened to be having dinner at the same time. And every time I looked up, there they were staring at me. And I looked up again, and they're staring at me again. Now, I've never met them, don't know them at all. They do know my family. They, of course, know my sister. She's been there, since she, I don't know, over 50 years. Our family's been over there in Vermillion over 50 years. So, they knew my sister. The Munsters occasionally go to the same church that we do as well. And they just kept staring at me. It was just the most bizarre thing. I've never met them. So I decided to call the waitress over and send them a drink. And they weren't thirsty. Okay, no problem. Look, no animosity on my part, nothing at all. But, every time I glanced up there, they were staring at me. So there you go, small town stuff. All right, I just thought that was a little bit interesting. My thought I'd tell you that little story. Okay, another quick story I wanted to bring up is about 2 weeks ago, I wrote I think it was the first report ever written about Illinois' plan to fund public universities on the basis of race. I wrote that story, put it all out, talked about specifically Northern Illinois University, talked about the State Higher Education Executive Officers Association and what they had on information related to public funding of of universities. I discussed this in full on my show. I wrote about it extensively. I shared it to WirePoints. WirePoints shared it to their very large audience too. And then lo and behold, guess what? Here you go. Wall Street Journal, May 3rd, 2024. Neetu Arnold writes an opinion piece. Illinois' plan to fund public universities on the basis of race. You see, when I put something out like this, everybody just thinks it's like, not real, or it's not true, or there's something more to the story. Oh, but then the Wall Street Journal, guess what? This writer who just graduated about, 6 years ago. She was a recent graduate from 2018 in communications, which means she really doesn't have any experience with higher education. She's never sat on a higher education funding board. I don't know how she was looking at this, but I read her article. I'm like, oh my gosh, she definitely read my article. She definitely read it. She talks about the same issues I talked about, like this funding was based on the K through 12 funding that they wanted. This was based, she talks about NIU in here. She talks about SHIO. SHIO is just one of many higher education, interest groups that discuss this stuff. So it's like, okay, I'm sorry, but you basically read my report. But okay, that's all right. Wall Street Journal printed it. They printed her story. So guess what, guys? Here we go. Illinois again looking bad, and essentially the first state in the union to essentially decide that they're going to plan to fund public universities on the basis of race. Now that's outrageous. That's actually discrimination. So we're digging into this. I also got another call from a lawyer who's interested in a possible lawsuit if this plan actually goes through. We don't know if it's going to go through. May is, of course, budget month in the state of Illinois. They're going to have to get a budget by the end of the month, and this is where all the bad stuff is hidden. And if you got to hold on, you have to listen in to my into my next hour, into my 8 o'clock hour, because we're going to discuss that and the cost of Ozempic to state taxpayers to fund this injectionable weight loss drug for the fat government workers. So we're going to talk about that and more, but we're going to go to break early so we can get Dr. Rich Jorgensen on next. Thanks for joining me tonight on The Real Story with Jeannie Ives.
November 2nd, 2020, marked the 100th anniversary of the first commercial radio broadcast. We're still here, and we're bigger and better than ever. You can still listen to us over this great radio station, but now there are no limitations. Your smartphone is now your smart radio. Listen to us online on the app, tunein.com, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey.com. Your smart speaker can find us too. With radio, there is no separation anxiety. We're always on. AM 560, The Answer.
The American military brings together brave men and women from across the country who have chosen to answer the call when their country needs them most. At aviatorfuel.com, we know the military because we live the military life. With books written by a Navy pilot and run by a hard-working military spouse, aviatorfuel.com is proud of our service and our country. That's why we never compromise on authenticity. Our cocktail books are modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. But instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito. From classic recipes to military specials like the Queen of Battle or the Afterburner, our cocktail books have something special for every veteran. So go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Oh, it's been actually really good. I'm 81 years old. I'm a retired nurse, and I have found, I've taken it for about 5 years, I do feel better. At first, there wasn't a drastic change, but I found it really has made, a difference in my lifestyle. It does improve our quality of life.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
It's almost time once again for the annual AM 560 Golf Outing presented by Signature Bank. And this year, AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to help them support America's first responders and military heroes, including homeless veterans, and to help America never forget 9/11. This year, our golf outing is happening on Wednesday, June 19th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. When you purchase a foursome to join us, you'll enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. And if you're a business owner, when you purchase a foursome, you'll also receive an AM 560 marketing package, which includes 25 one-minute commercials between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. and a free digital marketing analysis. And we also have twosomes available in addition to foursomes. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Control Point Engineering, Waukegan Roofing, and by Crosscom Public Adjusters. You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right. Thank you for joining me tonight. It is Sunday, and this is The Real Story with Jeannie Ives. And as you know, we like to get pretty local about things, and then we also like to see how we can contrast ourselves against national statistics. And so one of the good things to know is that Illinois has been doing pretty good. I'm sorry, DuPage County has been doing pretty good when it comes to drug overdoses. And we are efforting to get Dr. Rich Jorgensen on the line right now. We're supposed to do an interview with him right now. But he released a report April 22nd of 2024, and he said that he reported a 24% decrease in drug overdose deaths in 2023 compared to 2022. Now, that is a phenomenal decrease, and he attributes this to a number of different things that they have done in terms of outreach and education, task force, a Narcan program, and other things. So we're going to get him on and have this conversation with him because, the fentanyl stuff keeps coming in. It keeps showing up, and it's coming over the border, and everybody knows that it's coming over the border. In fact, if you're a state's attorney or a sheriff, you know how to track this stuff, and you know that that's where the drugs are coming from. Okay, is he on? Okay, we're still, I think, working on getting him on. Oh, he's on. Okay, great. Oh, my gosh, we've got him here. Okay, so Dr. Rich Jorgensen is the DuPage County coroner, and he's also a doctor, which is, I think, very interesting. He's started out as he did a surgery. He's still honorary staff at Central DuPage Hospital. He's been a staff and trauma surgeon. And he left that profession, and he became our coroner about a decade ago. And since he became our coroner, he has been really heavy tracking the overdose issues here. And so we welcome Dr. Jorgensen to the program. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, your interview that I did with you, a podcast about 2 years ago, was one of our most listened to podcasts because it was so informative. So bring us up to speed about what's happening in terms of overdoses in DuPage County and what you're seeing in the types of drugs that, if people do succumb to an overdose, is happening.
Yeah, well, this is the first year. I just put out the statistics for 2023, and this is the first year that I've been able to report a marked decrease in the amount of drug overdoses, actually 24% decrease. But without being doing a victory lap or being too excited about it, I have to report that we went from 150 overdose deaths to 114. So we're still at a very high rate. And to give it some focus, when I became coroner in 2012, we had 38 overdose deaths, and I thought that was excessive. So we're still at a very high rate, but hopefully this might be the first turnaround, the first down step, and hopefully this next year will show another down step. But we have definitely had a decrease, and that I'm happy about for sure.
Well, that's remarkable. Before we go much further, though, I was going to ask you. So, is it kind of like NCIS over there? What does a coroner do? Let's just talk.
We
about
are
that.
about as boring as you could be. All the stuff that you see on TV, we don't do any of that. But we have enough things going on. There's about 15 homicides in DuPage County a year, so that's about one a month. But if you think about it, we had 15 homicides and 150 overdose deaths and 100 suicides. So the big thing for us is more personal and more deeper family things than it is shooting, knifing, or homicide like they see in Chicago. We have more of these personal tragedies that affect families and young people as well.
And so you wrote in your report that people can see at the DuPage Coroner's website, and they can read all this information. You basically laid out 7 reasons that you think the overdose deaths decreased substantially. Did you want to talk about those a little bit?
I would. So when I did this analysis, which I have done every year since I started being coroner. The beginning of it started out with, in 2013, we had 18 overdose deaths in the month of July, which just shocked me and caused me to really deeply dive into this problem, made us aware of this opioid epidemic that was really already started by then, but wasn't really widely known. And many of the things that we did in response to that are the things that I laid out. And as I looked at the numbers this year, I was trying to think of what were the things that we did as a county that might have changed this or might have affected this. And I really couldn't think of a thing, but I thought of multiple things that I think added to it. And one of it is what we're doing right now, outreach and education. And I greatly, greatly respect the press and for all of you that are letting us have a voice to talk about this. Because when I first started talking about it, people actually were upset about bringing it out into the open and saying that we're embarrassing DuPage County by talking about this. Believe it or not, we weren't allowed into high schools. We weren't allowed to teach it in our educational system. And now we've broken that all down. And we have lots of education about this. We have lots of outreach. The second thing was I went to the county board, and we started a task force, countywide task force, first with the county board, and then we then branched out into the county board and county health department, and we called that the Hope Task Force, very much going out into the community, again, with the pillars of education and support and rehabilitation, that kind of thing. The third thing that we started that summer was what's called the DuPage Narcan program. And that started because the Chief of Police Association said, our police officers are going on scenes and having people that are dying, and we don't have any tools to help them. So we educated them, trained them, and supplied the first responders with naloxone, which is a direct antidote to opiates. And that program, which was a leader in the country and in the state, to date has saved over 1,500 people and has trained 7,500 police officers around DuPage County and even outside DuPage County.
Hey, can I stop you right there for a quick minute?
Yeah, sure, stop.
Okay, so there's a bill in Springfield right now that essentially says that they will issue Narcan to drug users that are exiting a drug program or a hospital after having been treated.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
Well, first of all, that bill has already been passed, and I talked to the person who passed it. That's just a bill that makes it sound like they're getting something done. All of the things that are being passed in that bill have already been passed and are perfectly legal in Illinois. There is a bill that allows every person in Illinois to go and get Narcan and naloxone at any site. As the director of the Illinois Department of Health has a blanket prescription for Narcan across the state. So that's already been passed, and I think it's great. I think Narcan should be, first of all, it should not be a prescription drug. It should be available to anybody at any time because it has virtually no side effects, and it is not effective to anyone who's not taking an opioid. So there is no downside to giving somebody Narcan when you think that they're suffering from an overdose. So to me, it should be a drug that should be available to all nurses, all doctors, all people that are worried about overdoses.
Okay.
And it actually, at this point, it is, and it has been for many years.
Okay, so I don't unfortunately have a whole lot of time with you, so I wanted to go down to your other thing. Like one of your reasons, reason number 7 that you say drug overdoses have probably decreased is that the DuPage County Jail has focused on treatment and rehabilitation. And
Correct.
I know Sheriff Mendrick is not happy with the Safety Act that essentially made, let drug offenders out all the time, meaning that they could actually not get the treatment
Correct.
in the jail. And, I agree with him on that one.
Well, Sheriff Mendrick has been very focused and forward-thinking in providing a rehabilitation in the jails, and when people leave the jails, they are provided with either the medication or the knowledge of what the dangers are of reusing opioids. We see all the time that people who relapse are the most likely to. This is because when they took their last dosage of opiates, it was to where they were before. Now they've been in jail for a month or 2 or a year, and they take something. Well, they can't take that dose anymore, and that now is a killer dose because their system. So yes, the treatment of the education of people in the jail and getting out of the jail has been very important to this issue.
Okay, so let's just turn to this right now, too, really quickly. So it appears, according to your report, that fentanyl is still the primary cause of death when it comes
Correct.
to overdose. And I think what's really important is you have the ability to chemically break down exactly what caused the overdoses. And I remember from 2 years ago, you said typically you see a number of different drugs in one overdose. It's not just a single drug, but there's a primary drug typically, and it looks like it's still fentanyl.
Well, there's no question that heroin is a has-been drug. We've only seen it in we only saw it in a small number of the cases that were identified in 2023. Fentanyl has become the drug of choice, and this polypharmacy, which I call it, is still ongoing. For example, back in 2014, we would see somebody either died of cocaine overdose or heroin overdose, and maybe another little drug in there. Now our toxicology reports may have 10 different drugs in there,
oh my gosh,
including 3 different kinds of fentanyls. And you can see that I broke down how many isomers of fentanyl are in there. And we've actually had a couple with 4 different types of fentanyls in there. And we often find cocaine and Xanax and other drugs and a whole mixture of different things. But the most common drug is still fentanyl, and cocaine is increasing over the last couple of years.
Okay. Hey, I only got 30 seconds with you. Fentanyl test strips, good or bad thing to have available?
Well, they're probably good. We've actually had people who died who probably didn't know they were taking fentanyl.
Okay.
So there may be people that don't know they're taking fentanyl and die of that. We know that's happened in DuPage County.
All right.
So,
hey, we've got to leave it there. I am out of time. I have a hard break at the end of the half hour. Thank you so much, Dr. Rich Jorgensen. You're a great coroner. Appreciate your time.
Fox News, I'm Jack Callahan. Ceasefire talks appear to be collapsing in Gaza.
The latest framework calls for the release of up to 33 Israeli hostages over several weeks in exchange for a temporary ceasefire. The progress, however, remains short of a deal. Israel did not send a delegation and is continuing to threaten a ground invasion into Rafah.
Fox's Chanley Painter, Prime Minister Netanyahu says no external pressure will stop Israel from defending itself. Israel has conducted a raid on what it calls a Hamas command and control center today in central Gaza. More pro-Palestinian encampments being cleared by police from American college campuses.
They do not deserve taxpayer funds to support their institutions if they cannot uphold the basic constitutional rights and freedoms and civil rights of their students.
House Speaker Mike Johnson, America is listening to Fox News.
Hi, this is Pastor Calvin from Christian Liberty Academy in Arlington Heights. It is time to get your children and grandchildren out of the godless government schools. How can we subject our loved ones to forced, ungodly psychological examinations and perverse sexual teachings? You would not send your child to a school that teaches 2 + 2 is 5. What is being taught today is far worse and damaging to minds and hearts. We can help through our on-campus Christian school and homeschool program. For over 55 years, we have operated a Christian school now in Arlington Heights, and we have served hundreds of thousands of families across our nation and foreign countries through our homeschool program, Christian Liberty Homeschools. Visit ChristianLiberty.com to learn more or to schedule a tour of our excellent 12-acre facility. Take action today. Visit ChristianLiberty.com, ChristianLiberty.com.
We all know that aches and pains come with simply getting older, but it doesn't mean you have to accept it. That's why I want to tell you about a special lady, Leah from Ohio, and her Relief Factor story. One Sunday, Leah was sitting on the couch in so much pain she was literally in tears. That's when she decided to try Relief Factor. Just 8 days later, she found relief, and she continued to get better and better. To quote her, she said, "I am truly amazed at this product. Like me, who after 9, almost 10 years, almost a decade of low back pain, lost that pain thanks to Relief Factor. If you're living with aches and pains, see how Relief Factor, a daily drug-free supplement, could help you feel and live better every day. Get the 3-week quick starter pack at relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. It all comes with the feel better or your money back guarantee. That number, 1-800-4RELIEF, relieffactor.com.
Hi, this is Randy Donnelly from Donnelly Auctions in Union, Illinois, with my current want list for upcoming auctions. Guns and military items are always at the top of my list, but I have buyers for vintage automobiles and motorcycles, old gas pumps and automotive signs. Do you have pinball machines and coin-operated games like slot machines, jukeboxes? How about Coke machines and soda machines? Also, neon signs, antique phonographs and music boxes, old toys, especially science fiction and Star Wars. Cowboy and Native American collections like barbershop, ice cream parlor, and saloon items. We'll take one item or an entire collection. We sell it all. Call me before you sell your items outright because you could be leaving a fortune on the table. And you won't know until you call me at 815-923-7000 or send me an email at DonnellyAuctions.com. My job is to get you top dollar for your collections, so call me at 815-923-7000. I'm Randy Donnelly, and I'll see you at the auction.
Don, can you read this email for me?
Of course. Jeez, I wish they could do something for your eyesight.
Ugh, me too. But you heard what they said. There's nothing we can do.
When vision loss can't be corrected with glasses or surgery and hope seems lost, turn to Spectrios Institute for Low Vision. Spectrios doctors specialize in the treatment of vision loss related to eye diseases such as macular degeneration, glaucoma, and diabetic retinopathy. There is hope.
Supported by science with personalized rehabilitation plans, occupational therapies, and access technology at Spectrios. Talk to a patient service manager. They'll walk you through the program. Spectrios takes BCBS and Medicare insurance. They also have grants for qualifying patients and offer a Seeing is Believing children's outreach program. Go to spectrios.org, located in Wheaton in a building that says it all, the House of Hope. That's spectrios.org. Spectrios Institute, the head, heart, and eyes approach to better vision. Remember to keep Spectrios Institute a 501c in your estate or legacy planning.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Well, welcome back, and thank you for joining me this Sunday night. I am Jeannie Ives, and this is The Real Story with Jeannie Ives. And sitting in the hot seat in studio is Shelby County State's Attorney Rob Hanlon. Rob is lifelong Illinoisan. He grew up in Arlington Heights. He went to college at University of Loyola University of Chicago. He spent 20 years doing federal litigation, including complex civil litigation, which I guess also encompasses organized crime.
Elements of it, if you will.
Of it. Okay, that's great. And now you live in McHenry County.
That's correct.
And you are the Shelby County State's Attorney, which is probably like 3.5 hours away, 4 hours?
About 3.5. And of course, I have to drive the exact speed limit the entire way down.
Oh, you don't have, you don't have legislator plates that let you just speed uncontrollably?
Yeah.
Like you're on, like your hair's on fire and you got that important vote to make or case to handle?
No, I think I just assume avoid that.
Of course. Well, no, I think that people would find it interesting that you can actually live in another county and be the elected state's attorney in a different county.
Well, in my particular case, I was appointed due to a vacancy in the position. And the only county-wide office that you can hold and not be a resident of the county is a state's attorney. And that's because you're the state's attorney for the given county. And so you get your commission from the governor as opposed to just as a result of the power that resides within the people. And you file on behalf of the people of the state, not just the county.
And it wouldn't have been any different had you been elected.
That's right. I could have, ran for office in any county if I wanted to. Most people, if they're going to run for state's attorney, they run where they live.
Yeah, most of them do. But okay, so it's very interesting. So you just listened in to our entire discussion I had with Dr. Rich Jorgensen, who is the coroner of DuPage County. They've seen a decrease, although albeit not, back in, I guess, when he started in 2013, they had 38 overdose cases. Now they have still 100 and I think he said 13 or 14. It's all in his report. That is down from 150 in 2022. But what is happening in terms of drugs down in Shelby County? Is it any different, or do you think it's more pervasive?
It's substantially different in a different way.
Okay.
In Shelby County, the drug of choice is predominantly methamphetamine. If you take a look at the state of Illinois, it appears that the Mexican drug cartels have divided the state of Illinois by Interstate 80. Everything south of Interstate 80, the pestilence of drugs there is methamphetamine. North of Interstate 80 is your fentanyl and some of these other hybrid drugs, and I think it's based upon cost and some of their distribution channels. So in Shelby County, about 80% of the cases that I address have something to do with methamphetamine, whether it's a person who is wasted on methamphetamine, engaged in very nasty conduct. I got a great story if you want to hear one.
Yeah.
There was a guy who was released from prison 3 days before appearing at a Casey's gas station. And what he did is he took a lit pack of matches, held up the gas pump, pointed it at the chief of police of a town, and depressed the handle. Fortunately, the clerk inside saw this going on and hit the shutoff valve. So a couple of dribbles of gas came out as opposed to full on. After he was finally apprehended and he was told he was going in, it was clear that he needed to go to the hospital. He asked the question, "Can I get methamphetamine in the hospital?" I like meth. I love meth. Can I get some more of it? So here he is, and I charged him with the terrorist threat and attempted murder of the chief of police, and then a couple of additional charges. But the methamphetamine was readily available to him. He just got out of prison, and it's cheap. And it's so cheap that the Mexican drug cartels that are selling it throughout the United States, they can sell it for less than it can be manufactured here when the main product, the anhydrous that's used in it, is no longer stolen. So if we go back 5-10 years, one of the big problems that the farmers in central Illinois had was their anhydrous tanks, these big, huge tanks.
Which are used for fertilizer.
They would have someone come and drill a hole in them and steal the anhydrous, like in buckets, take it, and then use that to manufacture methamphetamine. And of course, if you could imagine just the cost of those tanks, that's expensive in its own right. But here you had the criminal element now has been priced out of the market by how much is flowing in over the border. And it's that pervasive.
Now, you had, and part of the reason I wanted to have you on is because I became aware through my friends, our mutual friends, the Edgar County Watchdogs, that you were contemplating a potential lawsuit against the Department of Justice or the Biden administration because you know that you can track that all of this is coming across our open border, and you say they are the threat to the local population that you're supposed to be protecting.
Yeah. In one of the things that I did is I was like, how could there be this many methamphetamine cases? Where's it all coming from?
Right.
So I sat down with the sheriff. I said, Sheriff, help me understand that. How come we have so much of this? Well, he explained to me this particular issue, so I wanted to do some research. So I did some research, and I found a couple of articles written by the Drug Enforcement Agency as part of some circulars for law enforcement. And sure enough, they articulated in their own material that 95% of all methamphetamine sold in the United States comes from 4 drug cartels in Mexico. So you have to ask yourself the question, they know it. Couldn't we, send one of those, Tomahawk cruise missiles at those 4,
Right.
cartels? I don't know. But the current present administration, with the floodgates of all this unlawful immigration taking place, has all the mules in the world to bring in all this methamphetamine. And it's being channeled through freight trains with hidden compartments that are sealed. They basically take welding plates and cover up portions of the train cars so they can hide drugs within that and to evade detection at the border. Vehicles with special compartments, and of course, the mass of people just walking across the border carrying it. And it's a lot.
So I don't know if you recall, I'm trying to remember the specifics of it. Maybe you do, but it wasn't, it was last year, and the Illinois State Police basically caught the largest drug bust in the history of the state of Illinois. And it was 2 guys apparently headed to California. And it was a massive drug bust. And they essentially got off. They weren't detained, and they fled.
Yeah, then
So,
it was
do you recall that?
It was after September when the Safety Act went into
Yes,
effect.
it was after September when the Safety Act went into effect, and so they were let out.
Yes, and so underneath the Safety Act, there's detainable offenses and non-detainable offenses, and those detainable offenses are, for the most part, violent. Your murders, your Class X, the criminal sexual type cases, domestic battery if it's aggravated, and my assistant Alex, he used to laugh because in order to meet the legal definition for the aggravated domestic battery for strangulation, the defendant has to have closed off the airway or the normal and impeded normal breathing and circulation of the victim. So the question that has to get answered is, did he squeeze hard enough that he stopped her? And he'll envision, putting both hands around a neck and saying, "Is this hard enough? Have I impeded your breathing yet?"
It's just so pathetic.
That's what it takes to detain
That's
someone.
pathetic.
If it's aggravated domestic battery where the victim is, if she's pregnant, that could be subject to detention. But most of the crimes that we're seeing in the drug arena, it's catch and release.
Catch and release.
Yes, and that idea of catch and release, I think it's very problematic, especially, I'll give you an example. I had a fellow in the courtroom, and he was wasted in the courtroom. So I'm like, excuse me, Your Honor, could by chance the court order the defendant to undertake a drug test? And the court sends him down, and he comes back positive. Well, now that we know that he's impaired in the courtroom, well, it's contempt, and you have to have a separate criminal contempt proceeding. You just can't launch him and throw him in. But he's going to walk out the door at the end of that thing. They're going to test him again, and then we're going to see, what the degree of his, ongoing intoxication. So that same guy literally came up to me in the evening. I go for a walk, and so sure enough, one evening, the same defendant comes up to me. He goes, "Hey, where's your wheels?" I'm like, "Well, I got to lose a few pounds, so I'm going to go for a walk." He goes, "Can I go with you?" And I'm like, "Well, I can't stop you from walking down a public street." And he walked back and forth, and he was so intoxicated, and I tried to say to him, "Do you think that maybe this is just a bad idea for you?" And of course, when I got back to the courthouse, I just picked up my phone and had the sheriff come and pick him up. But
oh my gosh.
He picks him up, he charges him, and then I release him the next day.
Okay, well, we've got a lot more to talk about. We're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with the Shelby County State's Attorney, Rob Hanlon.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
The Fiber and Spice is a very effective product. There's no question. A product that is very reliable. It's a very good product.
I swear by these. Probably the best products that I've ever used. I think they're just simply good for your body.
When I used to work, I used to do my art over the weekend all the time. And now I do yard work. I have been doing yard work. I can sweep my floor and make my place look nice. And I take Balance of Nature, and it feels really good.
Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Baseball and softball season will be starting soon at fields everywhere. I'm not talking about those overpriced professional palaces with the prima donnas. I'm talking about the neighborhood where the kids, Little League fields, their family, their fathers, their coaches will all be out in the sun. There's a company in Bridgeview, PYT Sports, that's working with volunteer coaches, Little League managers, and dads. Good, hardworking guys that want to help their kids and friends have a good time this summer instead of getting into trouble on the streets. PYT Sports has all the stuff you'll need to furnish dugouts and more. 2-tiered benches, helmet racks, bat racks, and individual player storage. Plus, windscreens and wall pads. Even field tarps to protect from rain so you're ready for game time. Check out the popular Field General, Commander, and Trooper helmet and bat combos to make your dugout look like the pros. Go to pytsports.net. That's pytsports.net. And get ready for a great baseball season. Play ball!
This Mother's Day, treat the mom in your life to a day she'll never forget with brunch at the Trump International Hotel and Tower in beautiful downtown Chicago. Brunch reservations are available now for Sunday, May 12th, with seatings from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the Grand Ballroom. Experience an exquisite meal in a buffet style. Feast at the decadent carving, omelet, and dessert stations. Enjoy drink specials, live entertainment, complimentary champagne, and a beautiful rose garden backdrop for memorable photos. There's no better place to celebrate this Mother's Day than as guests of Trump Chicago, where you'll find the most iconic views of the Chicago skyline. Delight in this one-of-a-kind extravaganza. Make your reservations today by visiting eventbrite.com and search Mother's Day Brunch, Trump Chicago. That's Eventbrite, search Mother's Day Brunch, Trump Chicago, and order your tickets today. Cheers!
John Bean Technologies Corporation, JBT. Host Application Team Lead 1, Chicago, Illinois. Develop application code to control a fleet of automated vehicles using object-oriented concepts and C# languages. Build and execute database queries using SQL. Perform root cause analysis on project budget overrun and schedule delays. Position is eligible to work remotely up to 75% of the time. 25% of travel required. Bachelor's degree or foreign equivalent in computer science or closely related field. 5 years as software developer or similar occupation that provides the required experience. 5 years of experience as software design and development to capture project requirements and create software flow diagrams. 3 years of experience developing code using object-oriented language such as JavaScript or C#. 3 years of experience building and executing database queries using SQL. Email resume to william.poust@jbtc.com.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right, welcome back. We have Shelby County State's Attorney Rob Hanlon in studio with me. And if you want to ask him a question or ask me a question, it is 312-642-5600 if you want to weigh in for the conversation. We've been talking about the drug situation down in Shelby County. He had started out his segment saying that about 80% of the cases he deals with is drug-related. Methamphetamine is the drug of choice down there. Apparently, it's not fentanyl like we just talked with the coroner up here. So, so how do you, are these people just like, I know another interesting statistic you told me was that one of your sheriffs essentially said that he thought that 50% of the people driving on the road had something to do with meth. So talk about that, and then talk about how when you pick these folks up, how are they? How do you process somebody who's high on drugs?
All right. Well, first I want to clarify something I said earlier. When I said, they catch them and I release them, I really meant the system releases them because there's nothing I can do to keep them in jail. But when typical, so that it wasn't a sheriff, it was actually one of the police chiefs of one of the communities.
Okay, one of the communities.
And I was just, having a casual conversation with him, and I said, well, what do you think the percentage of people driving up and down the road is that are on meth or have meth on them? I was expecting him to say 5-10% at the most. He says 50. I was shocked. I said, did you just say 50%? He goes, oh yeah, hands down. And he goes, just about every traffic stop that we make, we'll have either someone with a pipe, with residue in it, or a baggie that has residue in it, and his officers don't even have to try to find these people because all they do is they effectuate a traffic stop. Oh, look at there's a methamphetamine pipe. So it's a felony in the state of Illinois to have less than 5 grams of methamphetamine. So if it's just a residue, it constitutes that class 3 felony. And yet, the Methamphetamine Community Control Act clearly, has identified this as the pestilence that it is.
Mm-hmm.
Nevertheless, it's pervasive. But you had asked, what do they look like when they come in? And I don't know how to quite classify this in a way that your listeners can have a full appreciation for. But when you see them come in, when they're a constant user, and they come on in, they have scabs all over their body. It's on their face. It's truly sickening. They whittle away body weight-wise to the point that when they're in our custody for a period of time, you can see them kind of come back to looking like a regular person as opposed to a walking corpse. And some of these people, they're just so compelled to it. If they get furloughed, say, from the jail. We had one lady, and when I looked at her, I thought that she was like an 80-year-old lady who was coming to give support for somebody. And they called the case, and she walked on up. And she was actually younger than I was. And, I know, thank you very much. I don't look like an old guy. But she looked literally like she was in her 80s, and she was in her late 40s. And it's mind-blowing. So after her having served about 6 months in the Department of Corrections, or sometimes there's post-judgment issues that come into play, and I get to see them on video, like the video that's here in your studio. And it's an amazing transformation that happens when they're pulled away from that drug. And I had the opportunity actually to ask a number of these different people how they got started, those sorts of things. And it is absolutely amazing to me how some of them get started, how some of them get hooked. But, in answering your question, how they look when they come in, one guy, I looked at him, and I'm like, he's Lucifer. He looked like the devil incarnate. It was just awful. So the answer to that question is just absolutely terrible. So, and that should be the thing that keeps people from doing it, but it's not. It's so addictive. So I asked this one individual, how did you, become, a methamphetamine user? He said, I fell asleep at a party.
He fell asleep at a party.
Right. He said he fell asleep at a party, and that while he had fallen asleep, someone was smoking methamphetamine, and they blew and exhaled the methamphetamine into their face. So they woke up to the rush of the methamphetamine going into their body, and they just had to have it again and again and again. And that's how they became hooked. And so it wasn't like he actively sought out this. Of course, he was a criminal defendant. For all I know, he was lying to me. But he didn't really have much of a reason to lie, because it was, a settlement type situation where we wanted to find a way to help him.
Okay, so right now there is a bill that's sitting on second reading in the Illinois House, HB 4834, and it essentially allows almost immediate expungement of drug convictions.
Yeah, it actually.
What is? I don't get it.
It actually goes beyond just drug convictions. It eliminates all sorts of convictions that are presently non-expungible, like a number of different felonies. It also impacts the area of traffic violations. Right now, you can't get a traffic ticket expunged. And so part of me is like, big deal. Maybe that shouldn't be something that everybody can look up every single ticket that somebody has gotten. Nevertheless, in the world of drugs, they have included in there the expungement of methamphetamine arrest. So ordinarily, if I want to find out if someone has a prior conviction, one of the things that I have to do is I have to go and get a record of the conviction in order to use that conviction in a subsequent trial. So the statute allows the Illinois State Police to continue to track that information, but it allows the expungement almost immediately after conviction of the felony of methamphetamine possession. So if you're possessing, say, 100 grams of methamphetamine, it's the quantity is sufficient to have a charge of possession with the intent to distribute. So that charge underneath that pending bill could very well be expunged.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Hey, we're going to have to leave it there. We only have about 20 seconds left. I want to thank you for coming on and giving us all this information. We're going to have you back on. But the bottom line is that the legislature is also dangerous. They're going to let these drug offenders out to reoffend, and they're a danger to society. But Rob Hanlon, Shelby County State's Attorney, thank you so much for your work down there. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. And we'll be right back after the break with State Representative Chris Miller.
One of the most important decisions you can make as a parent is where you send your kids to school. But these days, it's never been harder to know which school is best. Public schools have changed a lot, and you might be thinking about sending your child to a private Christian school. But you also know that private school can be expensive, and in this economy, you might think it's not an option. Well, think again. With halfpriceschools.com, you can purchase tuition vouchers for half the price of normal tuition for private schools. For nearly 10 years, halfpriceschools.com has helped families from all over Chicagoland make the dream of private school a reality. And that can be the reality for you and your child, too. Just go to halfpriceschools.com, search for a private Christian school near you, and purchase a voucher. It's that easy. Visit halfpriceschools.com. That's halfpriceschools.com.
This is Chicago's election station, AM 560 The Answer, WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app or tell your smart speaker.
A new attack in Gaza. I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. As talks of potential ceasefire reportedly fading, Fox's Jeff Paul reports from Tel Aviv.
Hamas has reportedly ended this latest round of negotiations in Egypt and will head back to Qatar to meet with leadership about its next move. At the same time, CIA Chief William Burns, who was also in Egypt, will head to Qatar as well. That's where Burns is expected to conduct an emergency meeting in Doha with Qatar's prime minister as talks over a potential ceasefire deal reportedly are near collapse. Qatar and the U.S. are expected to exert maximum pressure on both Israel and Hamas to keep negotiating. Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh reportedly said they're pushing for both a full withdrawal of Israeli troops and a comprehensive ceasefire.
The IDF staging an attack in central Gaza, which they say was aimed at a Hamas command and control center. Senate Majority Leader Schumer announcing a $400 million funding grant to help boost security and safety at synagogues, mosques, and churches in the country. Move comes on the heels of bomb threats at several New York synagogues Saturday night.
The grant is a great grant. It allows you to put in cameras so you can detect who might do something to your synagogue. Fences, strong windows, and 2 years ago we modified it so you can actually hire personnel.
Places of worship will have until the 21st of May to apply for funding under these first round of grants. Massive floods in Brazil's southern Rio Grande do Sul state have killed at least 75 people in the last week. Another 103 reported missing, according to local authorities. The rain's forcing more than 88,000 people from their homes, many of them taking refuge in schools, gyms, and other temporary shelters. The flood's leaving a wake of devastation, including landslides, washing out roads, and collapsing bridges across the state. More than 800,000 people are without fresh water. America is listening to Fox News.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Partly cloudy skies for us tonight. We're going down to 48. We start the week tomorrow with a mix of clouds and sunshine. It's pleasant with a high 71. Tuesday's a cloudy day, a couple of showers and a heavy thunderstorm. Will bring some flash flooding and damaging winds. It'll be warm on Tuesday with a high 74. I'm forecaster Rose Tamburino on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
The American military brings together brave men and women from across the country who have chosen to answer the call when their country needs them most. At aviatorfuel.com, we know the military because we live the military life. With books written by a Navy pilot and run by a hard-working military spouse, aviatorfuel.com is proud of our service and our country. That's why we never compromise on authenticity. Our cocktail books are modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. But instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito. From classic recipes to military specials like the Queen of Battle or the Afterburner, our cocktail books have something special for every veteran. So go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
Hi, this is Maria and Diane with the Del Bacchio Marchetti Group of App Properties Christie's International. We wanted to tell you why we placed number 9 in Illinois as the top producing real estate team and number 1 in Arlington Heights.
In the past 9 years, we assisted 1,975 buyers and sellers achieve the American dream of home ownership, selling $720 million in real estate.
If you are considering making a move, we can help you get the most value for your home in today's market.
Maria and I have over 50 years of combined experience. We take a conservative approach in protecting your asset and will give you the direction and professional advice needed to achieve a successful transaction.
Our pledge to you is to have your best interest at heart. So get the special attention you deserve with our white glove service from our city division to the suburbs.
Contact us for a free, no-obligation market analysis at thedmregroup.com. That's thedmregroup.com.
Information verification, MRED LLC, 2013 to 2022. Real Trends Large Teams 2022.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
AM 560, The Answer. If we want to preserve our constitutional republic, we need an informed and educated citizenry. And that's what this show is all about. Find out what's really happening. It's time to stop the lies and learn the truth. This is The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right. Thanks for joining me tonight. The phone number here, 312-642-5600 if you want to weigh in on the conversation. Wow, wasn't Rob Hanlon great? I mean, what a wealth of information. That's why we call this The Real Story. We put the people who are in the midst of the fight, who are actually the ones who are doing the work, we put them on air so you can hear the stories that you need to hear and be informed about as a voter. That's why we do what we do. And our next guest is no exception. It is State Representative Chris Miller. He represents the 101st State Representative District. That's down really kind of, I think he touches on Shelby County, but it's definitely in the EIU area, so Eastern Illinois University. He also is an Angus beef farmer, so I appreciate that. And we have we'll talk about it, but we'll talk about the beef labeling stuff and the contrast between Illinois and the state of Florida on that one as well. But I wanted to have him on because last week in Springfield, I think was probably one of the worst weeks that I've seen in Springfield. And that's saying a lot because we've had a lot of bad weeks down there. But the shenanigans continue, and the hard left progressive radical agenda continues in Springfield, and the political games continue in Springfield. So, Chris Miller, welcome to the program. Thank you for coming on tonight.
Well, hi, Jeannie, and thanks for having me. I look forward to the conversation this evening.
Well, let's start with the first things first. So, on Wednesday, State Representative, why am I blanking on his name?
Hoffman.
Jay Hoffman. Oh, yeah, Rod Blagojevich's best friend. That's how long he's been around. Literally, Rod Blagojevich's best friend in Springfield. He took a Senate bill that dealt with child welfare and did the classic Democrat gimmick. He gutted it completely, and with a floor amendment, replaced it with essentially an election bill. And this election bill did three things. It basically said no more party slating. It added 3 advisory questions to the 2024 ballot, which crowded out the advisory referendum that I've been involved with for the last 5 months. And it also changed the date when you can start to circulate petitions and when they have to be filed. And then Governor Pritzker signs it in less than 48 hours. Tell me about that. Tell me about that fight. Tell me about, what it felt like and what was going on.
Well, it's not, we've seen this movie before, and it's just another election year gimmick crafted in the bad idea factory. It's another attack on democracy and process. And, because we saw like you say, this was a complete gut and replace, and within 48 hours, the governor signed it and put it into law. And, and it's just a tactic of intimidation and fear-mongering, trying to use some progressive ideologies to scare people and to cheat constituents from absolutely knowing the truth.
Yes, so I was trying to get a handle on it because let's talk specifically about the slating aspect of it. There's a number of districts that right now they have no opponent on both the Democrat side and the Republican side. So there's this process whereby after the primary, you have until about 90 days, or I don't remember how many days, 60 days after the primary, that you can slate a candidate, a political party can slate a candidate an open seat, or not necessarily an open seat, but where there's no contender. And you still have to get the proper number of signatures in that amount of time to file. But what was the feeling down in caucus? What did you guys talk about? Were there particular races that the Democrats felt they might be vulnerable on, and so they wanted to basically take away slating?
Well, the one that sticks out in my mind the most would be down in the Metro East with Katie Stewart, and I think that the Democrats think that she is vulnerable just because of the not being able to define who a woman is, and some guys in the girls' bathroom, tampons in the boys' bathroom, and just a myriad of really bad votes that she took, let alone increasing taxes and all of the above. She's extremely woke, and so I would guess that would be one race that they would have to be extremely concerned about. But I know that our thoughts in our caucus was, how can we throw sand in their gears and slow down the process and not engage in their far left radical rhetoric. And we thought the best thing that we could do is to not give them an audience, and that way they can't try to define who we are and what we stand for. Rather, they just introduce the bill. We didn't offer any debate at all. We voted president, and walked off the floor and did a press conference to explain why we voted president and walked off the floor. So, in essence, we were able to define the terms and who we are and what we stood for, and to completely expose the attack on the process and on democracy as a whole.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't actually disagree with that tactic, because the minute you get, Kelly Cassidy up there talking about what she wants to talk about, that's what gets reported in the papers. So I think also, to some degree, the papers saw this as somewhat of a scam as well. I mean, especially going to the 3 ballot questions that they discussed, and I thought your discussion about this was very good, in that they wanted 3 advisory ballot questions to be on the 2024 ballot. The first one said that if you're a candidate for political office, that essentially you would be facing civil penalties if you tried to interfere in any way with an election worker. I mean, right. You can't do that anyway. But they want to poll test. They want to poll the electorate on the ballot on whether or not they think that's a good thing. That's 100%. 100% people don't think you should interfere with an election worker, especially if you're a candidate. So that's just driving turnout. The number 2 question dealt with whether or not you wanted a millionaire's tax, a 3% millionaire's tax, to then, on the opposite end, move that money into property tax relief. Well, who in this state doesn't want property tax relief? I mean, come on. Now, the millionaire's tax got defeated before, but everyone's property tax credit. And then the third question, essentially, I'm trying to remember what the third one was now, the third ballot question. I can't remember. Can you, Chris? I'll look it up quick.
If you give me a minute, I'll remember.
Yeah, exactly. It was another one of those stupid provisions which they already know the answer to, right? Isn't that right? They already know the answer to these questions?
Yeah. Well, and to me.
Oh, wait a minute. I got it. The third,
in vitro fertilization.
Yeah, that's right. IVF. Whether or not they wanted insurance companies to cover IVF, which, that's not something that, people are going to say no to. So go ahead.
Well, I mean, one thing that they're completely disingenuous, because these are non-binding resolutions, and I think that, if you remember, was it in 2014 they had some kind of ballot question that was a non-binding resolution? I can't remember the details of it, but the thing that sticks out to me, they actually brought it to after they got the information, and they actually put this on the ballot. They put it on the House floor, and I think there was 16 votes on this non-binding resolution. And another thing, all of these initiatives are disingenuous, because the real reason why they put those 3 on there was to keep the parental rights question being put on the ballot.
That's exactly
because they
right.
knew the outcome of that. And I think that's another thing, that reason why they're completely disingenuous in this. Really, do we need a question on the ballot whether we should lower property taxes or not? If you think that needs to be a ballot question, you're an idiot, and you have no business being in the General Assembly.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, this is just they're. This is just classic playing politics at the end of the day. I don't know how they live with themselves other than they just must know their voters, and they must know the media. The media's not really going to dig into this. Nobody's really reading the Chicago Tribune on this or Crane's Chicago Business. They're not reading these reports. They're just getting whatever they can from the social media, and all the Dems are doing is saying, oh, we want to lower property taxes with a 3% millionaires tax. And nobody even knows what that number means. They don't even understand if that does anything. I don't think it would move the needle on property tax relief in this state. So it's all a joke.
Yeah, it is all a joke. It's all theater. It's all like what you said before. It's all election year gimmickry, and they aren't really looking for any solutions or any answers. And by the way, if you think about it, they have a supermajority. All right. And if they want property tax relief, they can do it. If they want tax relief, they can do it. Anything they want to do, they have the votes to reform, restore, do whatever they want to do. And so this idea that they need permission from somebody to actually do the right thing is just silly.
Okay, we're going to hold you over past the break, Chris. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about this massive tax incentive to Rivian and the massive cost of funding injectable weight loss drugs for state employees. So we'll be right back with more from State Representative Chris Miller.
Just as a 23-year Marine, this angers me. But if I had left one confidential document out overnight on a desk, I would have lost my career.
It's a long way to the nomination. I still believe that Joe Biden will not be the nominee and somebody else will be.
It is very, very worrisome that Donald Trump is able to somehow convince so many Americans that he deserves any position of serious power.
Join the Beyond the Beltway conversation Sunday night from 10 to midnight right here on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
It is absolutely the best product we've ever used, no question.
I would take it daily. You just woke up in the morning and felt great.
Well, I'm in my 90s. I was so impressed with it that I bought all my children that. I have 4 children, and they all got a shipment of it. It's a great product. Yes, I love it.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
We all know that aches and pains come with simply getting older, but it doesn't mean you have to accept it. That's why I want to tell you about a special lady, Leah from Ohio, and her Relief Factor story. One Sunday, Leah was sitting on the couch in so much pain she was literally in tears. That's when she decided to try Relief Factor. Just 8 days later, she found relief, and she continued to get better and better. To quote her, she said, "I am truly amazed at this product. Like me, who after 9, almost 10 years, almost a decade of low back pain, lost that pain thanks to Relief Factor. If you're living with aches and pains, see how Relief Factor, a daily drug-free supplement, could help you feel and live better every day. Get the 3-week quick starter pack at relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. It all comes with a feel better or your money back guarantee. That number, 1-800-4RELIEF. relieffactor.com.
Our communities deserve to have their tax dollars spent efficiently. All over Chicagoland, there is an increased need for vital projects like wetland improvements, enhancing water quality, or stormwater mitigation to protect homes against devastating floods. Too often, public officials find themselves at the mercy of outside advisors when planning, budgeting, and building these projects. And let's face it, they rarely meet deadlines or budgets, leaving our communities vulnerable. There's a better way forward. Control Point Engineering. At Control Point Engineering, we're more than just civil engineers. We're champions of quality and efficiency with over 40 years of hands-on experience. Teaming up with Earthworks Land Development, we're breaking down barriers and streamlining processes. Say goodbye to disjointed partnerships and hello to seamless collaboration. From conceptualization to construction, Control Point Engineering delivers everything you need in one unified package, saving you time and money. Visit ControlPointLLC.com today to learn about our successful projects all across Chicagoland. Again, that's ControlPointLLC.com.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right, welcome back. We still have State Representative Chris Miller on the line, and we were going to discuss a few more things that are going on in Springfield. Let's start with this. I mean, Pritzker's going to give Rivian Automotive $827 million in tax incentives and credits, subsidies. That's unbelievable. Okay, that beats the Goshen deal by about $300 million. And the original Rivian package, oh, I don't know, maybe that's 8 years old, was $50 million. $50 million. Now they're going to get $827 million for $1.5 billion investment in their Normal, Illinois plant and the hiring of 550 employees. That was $1.5 million per employee. Chris, what the hell?
It's you have to wonder what these people are thinking about. You know, I know Ford Motor Company just released their first quarter losses of sales on electric vehicles, and you know they lost $1.3 billion, which amounted to around approximately $132,000 per vehicle that they lost. And I know that these major companies are pulling the plug on their EVs because nobody wants to buy them, and they don't work. They're not practical. The charging stations are not available. I mean, the whole thing is a doggone disaster, and this will be a disaster also. This Rivian plant will be bankrupt within 5 years. You can write it down. You know, almost all these things that they're doing to try to promote this is all driven by subsidies and tax dollars and incentives. And if they were a standalone company from the get-go, they wouldn't even have gotten this far. And so this whole thing is a nightmare for the Illinois taxpayers.
It's a scam. It's a scam. So Rivian was going to put $5 billion into an EV plant to build their R2 vehicle down in Georgia, and they completely pulled back from that. Now we know why they pulled back from it. They knew it was not going to make any money. So just to kind of keep the party going, they go to Illinois. They know Pritzker's, you know, he's got just like, I don't know, he's got fantasies about being the EV capital of America. And so he knew that they knew they could extract a good deal from him, and they did. This is outrageous. Outrageous.
It's absolutely true. And I know that, you know, the problem is they already have brand new EV graveyards that they're stockpiling these vehicles because nobody wants to buy them. You know, and so I'm not sure if they have a reclamation plan or a recycling plan for all these EVs that are sitting around that nobody wants to buy.
So the other thing is they did this deal. They announced the deal on Thursday. And this Tuesday is when Rivian's first quarter report comes out. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think that first quarter report's going to be rosy at all.
No, it'll be a disaster. It's all predictable. It'll be a complete disaster because this whole green energy fantasy is a complete train wreck.
Yep.
And, I mean, it'll bankrupt Illinois and it'll bankrupt the rest of the United States eventually if they don't get their head out of their hind end.
Yeah, no kidding. And these are state tax credits. Does not even include the federal tax credits that also they would try and glam onto. Now, I just want to know, does Pritzker really think that he knows more than Ford Motor Company about how to run a car company? Don't you think that's a good
Say it
question?
again, please.
Don't you? Does
No, I
does
think
does
it's an
Pritzker
excellent
really
question.
think he knows more about how to run a car company than Ford? Because Ford's backing away.
I don't know exactly how his brain works, because if you would just, if you just look at the big picture here and you see a major company that's been building cars for a long, long time and has a lot of market success, whether it be their truck lineup or the rest of their car lineup. I mean, they have had a tremendous success story over time, and they're throwing all this stuff in the garbage. And so J.B. Pritzker thinks that he knows more than the Ford executives that have a history of success. It's just mind-boggling.
Okay, let's talk about another scam, and that's the scam that was hidden in last year's budget bill, and apparently was hidden at it was put into the budget bill by Governor Pritzker's staff, and nobody on the Democrat side really looked into it, never looked at the cost of it. But one of his staffers, and literally WBEZ did a great job on this story, and Dave McKinney's a good reporter, and he said that was hidden in the lines of last year's budget bills was this requirement that forced taxpayers to pay for expensive weight loss injectables for fat government employees. The cost is estimated to be $210 million and maybe triple that in 1 year. And he wrote, Governor J.B. Pritzker's office pushed to expand the coverage of the high-priced weight loss drugs, a quiet maneuver that could cost Illinois millions of dollars. And they, this is just unreal. I mean, nobody reads the budget bills. Nobody gets time to read the budget bills in detail. Not even the Democrat staffers knew this. And an expert said this could cost up to $500 million just for this one very expensive drug.
Oh, I believe it. It's just a further revelation of the complete incompetency. And there's one thing that we know about this is JB's not using it. Just a practical observation.
Yeah, no, I mean he's got full access to it if he wants to. I'm sure he's on state employee health care too. Yeah, no, I mean it's just remarkable though that good for WBZ for putting out this report. Where else would we going to hear from it? I mean, this is an outrageous cost.
That's one of the problems with our budget is that we've seen this over and over and again. As they meet behind closed doors, they put a budget together with no transparency, with no public knowledge. They drop it, and within a few hours, they expect people to vote on a 2,000 or 3,000 page budget, and nobody knows what's in it. And that's the reason why I voted no on the budget every year since I've been here, because it's impossible to know what's wrong. Another thing that nobody wants to talk about is that in the past 5 years, when I came in the off same time J.B. Pritzker did, and our budget was approximately $38 billion at that time. This year is projected to be $53 billion, approximately $15 billion more. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, we've bled population. We've lost a congressional seat. We've had some major corporations leave the state of Illinois, but we just keep spending more money. And until we have the courage to do a forensic audit on where the money's going, we aren't ever going to be able to fix the budget.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about one more thing. You posted this up on your Facebook, and it's great. Governor Ron DeSantis signs a ban on lab-grown meat. Now,
absolutely.
Isn't that great? I mean, why would you want meat grown in a test tube? But J.B. Pritzker has doubled down. I think he's put together tax credits for a California company to come here and do lab-grown meat.
No, it's just unbelievable that he would, basically it's an attack on agriculture. It's an attack on the family farm. It's an attack on the beef producers here in the state of Illinois. And, and it's just not here, but it's expanding other places also. And it's just another ridiculous bad idea brought to you by the Bad Idea Factory, which is J.B. Pritzker's and his pillars in a Capitol in Springfield.
Yeah, well, my cousin who raises beef in South Dakota, he always said, it's almost a miracle. These cows will eat, all sorts of plant-based food, and they turned it into a steak. So guess what? A
Mhm.
steak is plant-based food. There's
I
no
know.
way around it, right?
Yep, and it's really good too.
It's awesome. There's nothing like a great steak at night.
Yeah.
He's State Representative Chris Miller, father of 7, grandfather of, I don't know, 20? What are you up to, 21?
Yep. Well, up to 20. We
Awesome.
had our first first grandchild graduate from high school, and we had a big party this evening.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for joining us tonight, Chris. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to do so.
This radio station is always on, but sometimes you need more content that you can take with you anywhere. That's why we invented the SalemPodcastNetwork.com. You'll find all the great hosts on this radio station, plus a few more, like Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, Trish Regan, Jenna Ellis, and Dennis and Julie. There's literally no end to what we can teach you. It's like radio on demand, and just like radio, it's always on. Go find out what you're missing. Download the app, SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Fox News, I'm Kathleen Maloney. There are reports of another Israeli attack in Gaza as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu remains determined to defend his country.
We will defeat our genocidal enemies. Never again is now.
Talks to end the war appear to be falling apart. $400 million in funding being offered to help boost security and safety at synagogues, mosques, and churches.
The grant is a great grant. It allows you to put in cameras so you can detect who might do something to your synagogue. Fences, strong windows, and 2 years ago we modified it so you can actually hire personnel.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer speaking after bomb threats at several synagogues in New York City Saturday night. America is listening to Fox News.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Guevalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology, such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930. That's 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Hanlon? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century. With IoT Smart Connected Scanning, it's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
It's Reveille. 2 months ago, I introduced my listeners to the plight of my brother-in-law Dave and sister-in-law Marietta and their simple request to reestablish her green card status so that they could move back permanently to the United States. To recap, over 2 years ago, after living in Australia for 30 years, they decided to leave Australia after seeing the COVID tyranny displayed by the government. David and their 2 U.S.-born children hold dual citizenship. His wife, Marietta, holds citizenship in Australia and the Philippines and had been a U.S. green card holder until it accidentally lapsed. While living in Australia for over 30 years, they still filed joint U.S. federal tax returns together and owned U.S. property. Dave is an Air Force veteran. Marietta has no criminal record. She is financially well off and needs no government support. Unbelievably, they were told it would take 11 to 17 months to get a new green card for Marietta. Well, it has now been over 26 months and counting. Well, here's the update. The latest injustice is that Marietta must ask for a waiver from taking the COVID shot. Meanwhile, in the same amount of time since Dave and Marietta have put in a request to legally enter the country, Joe Biden has allowed over 7 million unvaccinated folks to enter illegally, including picking up over 320,000 of them in foreign countries and flying them to a city of their choosing. And in the last 2 years, the state of Illinois has spent $2 to $3 billion on illegals and non-citizens, and the country has spent hundreds of billions giving out free everything. It's maddening to see illegal behavior rewarded and good, productive citizens marginalized and abused by government bureaucrats and elected officials who refuse to step in and help. I'm Jeannie Ives. To learn more, listen to my radio show from 7 to 9 p.m. on Sunday and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right, welcome back. Wow, that was a very fast hour and a half, but we've got a little bit of time left, and this is the time where we typically have our Edgar County Watchdogs on, and they are on with me again tonight. Again, if you've been listening in and you want to weigh in on the conversation, the phone number here is 312-642-5600, and you are listening to Jeannie Ives, and this is The Real Story with Jeannie Ives. And a couple of guys that always tell you the real story in Illinois are Kirk and John. And welcome to the program, guys. Thank you for being on. Kirk, you had a couple interesting articles that you wanted to talk about. Are we doing Justice for All first, or do we want to do the state police FOIA cases?
Let's do the state police, and if we got time, we'll get to the other one.
Okay, sure. Sounds great.
For those that aren't familiar with Freedom of Information Act, it's what we call a shall pay statute, meaning if you end up suing the public body and you prevail, they have to pay the attorney fees. The state police, I think, are probably, and I'll let John chime in as well, but I think they're probably one of the worst agencies when it comes to FOIA compliance. We have been in court with them many, many times, but this particular case, we just settled with them for our attorney fees to the tune of $20,622.93.
What?
What makes this one so unique, this was out of Shelby County, which you just had the state's attorney from down there. The former sheriff, and this was during the former state's attorney's time, was selling seized guns in violation of court orders and literally selling them to himself and his deputies. We exposed it. It got punted to the Attorney General, Kwame Raoul, and he chose not to prosecute. So we FOIA'd for all the investigative reports, interviews, and recordings of those interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've done this many, many times. The state police have always given us the recordings. They fought us on this one. They did not want to give up those recordings, and they lost in court, and they had to produce them, as was expected. And here we are, closing out that case, and they had to pay our attorneys over $20,000.
The taxpayers had to pay. The taxpayers had to pay that. $20,000 because they would not answer a FOIA properly.
Well, they wanted to keep those. They wanted to suppress those records, and once we got them, it was evident why. The investigation was probably one of the worst we've ever come across. They would literally be told something, and there was never a single follow-up to see if what they were told was even true. And between 4 people that were interviewed, the number of lies and misinformation was just unbelievable. But that's what we're dealing with in this state.
One scam after another. So the former sheriff of Shelby County got caught illegally selling seized weapons, seized guns, to himself.
Only after denying it 9 months earlier.
But he got caught doing this, and he sold them to himself and his deputies. Now.
And himself, his deputies, and employees.
Okay, now I want to know, is there a record of sale of those seized weapons?
We have them all. We have all the
Okay.
records.
Are any of those seized weapons weapons that qualify under the assault weapons ban that have to be registered?
Yes. Looking
Then
back on it,
I
there were
wanna
probably a couple
know
of them
if
now,
they
but this
registered
was
them.
before the ban.
Okay,
This
I know,
was
but
before the
you
ban.
still, it doesn't matter. If you possess them, you have to still register them. So
I
I want to
understand
do the
completely.
next step. I want to go take the next step, find out if they register them. Because now you know that they have them from your records.
Right.
So now you can find out if they're scamming the system that way too and not registering weapons that are now, quote unquote, have to be registered. Right?
Yeah, that would be an interesting
It would
FOIA,
be.
but
It would be
unfortunately, the registry database is exempt from FOIA.
Well, I get it. I mean, and probably we don't want it to be FOIA-able. We don't. But I still want to find out. You know what I'm saying? It'd be
Right.
interesting if you had so-and-so bought such and such a weapon, and then you hand it over to the state police and you let them figure it out if they're registered or not. They possessed it
Now,
because they bought it.
The ironic part of this is a law enforcement officer, literally the sheriff, and he's one of many that we've caught doing this,
Scum.
selling seized weapons and never gets held accountable.
And then costs the taxpayers $20,000 because they wouldn't answer FOIA properly.
Yeah, the state police on that one, I would bet, and I'm off the top of my head, I would say over the years, state police has probably had to pay out in excess of $60,000 just in FOIA cases we've dealt with.
Just in your FOIAs. Wow.
Correct.
Well, that might be something to FOIA. How much they've paid out in FOIA expenses. Can you put that one
would
in for
definitely,
me?
Yeah, we can do that. That's not a problem.
Thank you.
It might be a real shocker because we'll take it to the next level and find out what they've paid in all FOIA cases over the last 5 years, and I'll bet you it's over $1 million. That's a speculation.
You think so? Okay, well,
yeah.
that is a really good thing to FOIA then, if you can FOIA the records on their FOIA expenses. That'd be great.
back in 2011, and it's just one of many, they paid out $2.5 million to settle a wrongful conviction case that the ISP completely was involved in. I mean, the level of incompetence is really scary when you really get down to it. So, I mean, the numbers aren't surprising at all.
Yep. And this is Illinois State Police, folks, so it doesn't matter where you're living in the state, you're paying for this malfeasance. That's what you're paying for. Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is correct. And that's not to say there's not good officers. I don't want listeners to take that message. There are some great officers, but there's some out there that are just collecting a paycheck, and they don't ever care about getting to the truth.
Well, in the case of the FOIA folks, it's these administrative folks, too. It's not the officers out there on the roads.
That's correct.
Yep. Okay, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with more from Kirk and John.
Attention, hut! Listen up and listen up good. If you're tired of run-of-the-mill gifts, then get on over to aviatorfuel.com. You'll find unique military-style cocktail books and barware to go with it. At aviatorfuel.com, we've got the perfect gift for any soldier, sailor, Marine, or just red-blooded American. You'll especially love our military cocktail checklists, modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. These award-winning books are authentic replicas, but instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito, written with military jargon throughout. So pick up a cocktail checklist from aviatorfuel.com. Invite some old friends to share war stories over cocktails. Your perfect libation is inside the cocktail checklist. And don't forget matching military-themed barware. Go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
This is my father, Bob.
This is my daughter, Lisa.
And we love Balance of Nature. Don't you?
You think I'm going to say no to her? Balance of Nature is a very good product. It's simple application, a simple thing to take.
It's fruits and veggie in a capsule.
That's it. Balance of Nature has helped me get along very well.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
This is Dennis Prager. Now you can listen to my show when it's convenient for you and without censorship from big tech. Become a member of the ultimate online community for all things Prager. It's Pragertopia Unlimited. Listen to the show on demand when it's easiest for you. This includes every radio show, every segment, and every guest over the last 10 years, and it's commercial free. You can even share your favorite segments with your friends. Plus, you'll get the same email from Alan Estrin that I receive every night about the most important issues to read about. Pragertopia Unlimited members can also listen to every program, lecture, and course that is in the Prager store. Thousands of hours. You can even listen to all my Torah teachings for free. Share my passion for free speech. Join today and save 25% off the first year and get a free Pragertopia coffee mug. It's all things Prager. Pragertopia Unlimited. Go to pragertopia.com or click the banner at dennisprager.com.
The Real Story with Jeannie Ives continues on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, I just want to finish up something quick with Kirk. You always make this comment during your presentations, and I think it's really worth reminding. And that's the last three words of the Pledge of Allegiance. And I know you wanted to say a little bit of something about that.
Justice for all. And every public body that stands before, their meetings and says the pledge, that last three words, most of them have no idea. I mean, they just literally ignore it. But a recent example, and so far I've yet to see this anywhere in mainstream media, but on the 2nd of May, President Trump, or former President Trump, filed a motion to dismiss in his Florida case. And what caught me, all politics aside, what jumped out at me after reading, basically 25 pages of the brief, there's 9 other examples of officials with, security issues or record document issues, and nothing was ever done to any of them. Mm-hmm. And what jumped out at me was the justice for all. Where is the equal justice that we're supposed to see in this country? And it's a scary thing to see where it's going. Again, all politics aside, if we can't have justice for all, we're in trouble.
Well, we certainly don't have justice for all in this state. That is for darn sure. Okay, let's turn to John quick. You guys just put out this story. Looks like May 5th. And Village gives away cash for Christmas gifts. What is that about?
Well, Jeannie, it happens all over the state, and I listed a few below the main article. But the village of Leroy, and down there by Bloomington Normal, voted to give $1,000 to their employees and members of the village zoning board.
What? The village zoning board too?
Yeah, they got Christmas gifts. So I guess if the zoning board did something that the municipality didn't like, maybe they wouldn't get Christmas gifts anymore. So, but Christmas gifts and bonuses, they're not legal unless, bonuses are legal if it's spelled out in the employee's contract with measurable results that have to get achieved in order to benefit from the bonus. These people don't have that. There's no employee contracts for any of the entities I listed. The Regional Office of Education of Grundy County in 4 years gave away $79,000 worth of bonuses for Christmas. I mean, if they can give away that much money in the Regional Office of Education, they're getting too much tax money to work with.
Yeah, no, it's just unbelievable. I mean, we had the same thing happen in DuPage County with back when Jean Kazmarek was first elected and sworn in, like within her first month, she was giving out something like 5% bonuses at Christmas time. some of those employees had not even been around the office for much more than a couple months. And she just got away with it. I mean, she actually got reelected. I mean, the lady's a train wreck. So this is a sore spot with people, for sure. But I guess they just have short memories. Maybe they don't remember it. I mean, I don't know what you do.
I tell you what, Jeannie, when you say it's a sore spot,
yeah,
we have people online on this article from Shelby County that are, they hate us. Some of them over there just hate us because of what we've exposed. But they literally say this issue we published is none of our business.
Really?
Yes, and she's going to be a future county board member come December 7 or first week in December. Yeah, she won the primary uncontested in the general, and she will be a board member. Is online posting. It's none of our business.
It's none of your business that they're giving out illegal bonuses.
Correct.
Yeah, I know. This is the problem. You got to know who you're electing, folks.
Well,
they don't want to follow the law.
One good thing, the state's attorney in Kankakee County wrote a letter about these gifts of public funds and told people in his county it was illegal.
So did he do that as a result of your work and your investigation?
Absolutely. Several years ago.
Okay. So, I mean, this is great. This is exactly, you guys are just, you should get the gold star for state of Illinois. You should get whatever is the highest, honor that is given to a public person because you guys are doing incredible work.
The honor would be for citizens to FOIA their own local governments.
Yep.
For copies of any Christmas gifts or Christmas bonuses last year and send the results to us.
Yeah, there you go. Because your list is, list could be a lot longer, I'm imagining.
I imagine it is, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's right. Exactly. And then also if people would just start to do the work that you do, follow your example and speak up at board meetings. And then if they would do the work that I'm asking them to do, which is run for public office, we could get a change here if people start to do some of that.
We need people to do both. And unfortunately, apathy kicks in and people just like, well, it's going to go how it's going to go. Well, it does that because people like them say that.
Right. And it does not have to be that way. Doesn't have to be that way.
No.
All right. Okay. Well, John and Kirk, thanks so much for joining me tonight. And we'll talk with you next Sunday night.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. And we're going to go to break and I'll be right back.
Listen, road rage is escalating on Chicago's expressways. Road rage drivers are using guns to shoot at other drivers.
Stay in your lane. Come on, man.
So when driving, be aware and stay calm. A driver with road rage may have a gun. And if you encounter road rage, don't engage.
Sponsored by the Illinois State Police. Aired in cooperation with the Illinois Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. What Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg is doing in Manhattan in his contrived case against Donald Trump is appalling, and it will get worse before it gets better in terms of interference with the campaign in a trial that should never have been begun, much less continued into the stretch run of the presidential campaign. We are watching a show trial, and everyone knows it. I expect a spectacular backlash from this abuse of the criminal law. Most Americans have due process in their bones, and they know Trump is not getting due process. They see the permanent government putting its thumb on the scale, or in this case, its entire fist on the scale. Pray the rebuke Democrats receive in November is enough to reset the party back somewhere close to where the old-school liberals live. We don't need a two-party system where one party has lost its commitment to the rule of law and to our ally Israel. Democrats have abandoned them both. The reckoning is coming. I'm Hugh Hewitt.
As a local business owner, you get called every week by marketing companies. We get it. We have hundreds of satisfied customers. Here's what a satisfied client recently said.
Open enrollment is going great. We're hitting record numbers. Thank you so much for this report. It really is amazing to see how the marketing is really shaping our enrollment around the city.
If you're a local business and ready for the next step, visit surroundchicago.com right now. Our experts are ready to help you take your marketing to the next level. Visit surroundchicago.com today.
The Real Story with Jeannie Ives continues on AM 560. The Answer.
All right. Thanks for joining me tonight. I am Jeannie Ives, and this is The Real Story. And we took a little field trip on Tuesday. We went up to Northwestern University. We're kind of curious about what was going on there because they were, at that time, the only Illinois university that had prominently stood out and said, we have this little pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas encampment on our grounds. And so we thought, well, we want to see what it's like. Now, yeah, I wouldn't say that we were late, but literally the afternoon before we had decided to do this, they had come to some agreement, the Northwestern University administration, with the protesters, an agreement that said, oh, guess what? We want you to take down the encampment. You know, nobody's going to be penalized. We're not going to arrest anybody. Nobody's going to be suspended, but we want you to take down the encampment, and then we're going to agree to some of these things that you want. Like, they didn't agree to divestment necessarily, but they agreed that they were going to give Palestinian scholarships, and they were going to get some additional Palestinian professors on campus. I mean, so they basically caved. The administration caved. But we still were curious about what was going on, so we went up there and did a little bit of a Facebook Live there, and you can view that on our Facebook page as well. But it was interesting. I mean, there was this whole section in front of the library that is, and it's, by the way, just next to the Kellogg's School of Management, so the business school there. And there's just this black wrought iron fence just covered and plastered with all sorts of signage, you know, pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian signage. And it was like the United Nations of pro-Hamas. So the Bangladeshis were for Palestine, for free Palestine. The Guatemalans were for free Palestine. The LGBTQ was for free Palestine. The lesbians were free Palestine. You name it. Like, there was a number of countries that were prominently displayed that they're for free Palestine. It was a total joke. And of course, these vandals, these absolute vandals, had spray painted on the sidewalk, the public sidewalk in front of it, spray painted whatever the propaganda they wanted to. And then when you walked in the back end, you know, and this was only supposed to be, the other thing is the encampment was only, no journalists were allowed, no media was allowed. Well, the encampment was essentially taken apart at that point. There was maybe one tent up, and then there was a big, huge white sort of event tent up, but it was really for medical purposes. I didn't see anything going on. There were stacks and stacks of water bottles there, so they were well supplied. There was all sorts of garbage strewn around. There was debris everywhere. There were blankets hanging up because they had gotten, you know, sprinkled on from the sprinklers. So it was kind of interesting from that standpoint. But what was appalling, was absolutely appalling. Somebody spray painted in very large lettering, Free Palestine, on the actual face of the building of the Kellogg School. On the actual, I think it wasn't brick, it was like some sort of cement. On the actual building. That's going to have to be sandblasted off. I don't know how they're going to do that. But, I mean, it's just, these guys didn't care. Complete defacement. And my assistant that was with me, she walked up to start engaging and talk with one of the students there. And then I walked up and I said, well, where are you from? Oh, he's from the East Coast. Well, what are you studying? Industrial engineering. And he just wanted to know whether or not we were there to help clean up. But after he figured out that we weren't there to help clean up, he didn't want anything to do with this. And I thought to myself, you know what? You know why that whole place was empty? You know why it was empty? Because these kids don't actually want to do anything to harm Northwestern University or themselves. No, they want that degree, because this kid who we were talking to was about to graduate. All he wanted to do was that degree and get into a job that he could handle, that he would make him some big money. That's all they wanted. They don't really care about this fight. They're just playing games here. It's silly season up there. It's ridiculous. One last note. Apparently, from a Columbia professor, he said, I'm canceling our final next Wednesday, as simply cannot pretend that academic business can go on under the current conditions. You have all received an A for the course. Please take good care of yourself. Unbelievable. Have a good week. We'll talk to you next week.
Almost time once again for the annual AM 560 Golf Outing presented by Signature Bank. And this year, AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to help them support America's first responders and military heroes, including homeless veterans, and to help America never forget 9/11. This year, our golf outing is happening on Wednesday, June 19th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. When you purchase a foursome to join us, you'll enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. And if you're a business owner, when you purchase a foursome, you'll also receive an AM 560 marketing package, which includes 25 one-minute commercials between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. and a free digital marketing analysis. And we also have twosomes available in addition to foursomes. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Control Point Engineering, Waukegan Roofing, and by Crosscom Public Adjusters.